W, the Arizona Regional H&I Vice Chair, and she'll be going over our process. So Linda, take it away.
Hi everyone, my name is Linda. I'm an addict. I get the pleasure of being the Arizona Regional Vice Chair for hospitals and institutions. I get to shadow Ryan right now. He is my chair, and it seems that this last year we have made a great team. And I want to open it up first by saying thank you to all the regional and local public relations, regional and tri-area committees. What I have been reminded of this last year, and it's been a while since I've been reminded of this, but in this endeavor, I've been reminded of our traditions and how the unity when we come together to work on such a thing in such a creative manner, and all when our skills shine, each individual skills, that we are better together than individually. And it's been wonderful working with PR through this endeavor, and all the different states, Ohio, Florida, and I'm sure we're all going to be working with all you all who reach out to us, and we're really excited about this because we see that this wave is happening, and so very excited. And with that, Paul, would you please cue up the presentation? Thank you, Paul. Okay, so these are the steps that we took at the Arizona region. And I'm speaking from the Hospitals and Institutions Committee perspective. What happened is last fall, we had a GSR assembly and an idea was raised through that group. And it went to the region, and at region, a work group was created for our public relations and our hospitals and institutions committees to work together on the idea of getting electronic literature on the tablets. At that time, we started to discuss how we had heard these rumors of Ohio and Florida doing it and being very successful. And so we started to get pretty excited. We took a group conscience and we decided on 5 pieces of literature that we wanted to dive into getting those on those tablets. Because our committee, hospitals and institutions, had a great relationship with the senior chaplain at the headquarters for Arizona Department of Corrections, Reentry and Rehabilitation, it was decided that our committee would reach out to our person with that relationship. So through that phone conversation with our senior chaplain, Herman, and it's ADCRR, Arizona Department of Corrections, Reentry and Rehabilitation. We had the phone conversation with him with our intent, and he supported our endeavors. It was a very smooth conversation. We were very happy about that. And we followed up with an email of exactly what our conversation was. During that phone discussion, he said that he would need those pieces of literature on PDF form. And so we provided those 5 pieces of literature. And we also included the Ohio agreement that we had got permission to use. And we asked Chaplain Herman to confirm that he received it. He did. And through this process, we made sure that we set proper expectations and follow-up times through clear communication. Again, relying on the relationship that we already had. And let's see, follow-up conversation. Yep, okay. And so, next slide. Thank you. And before our next follow-up conversation, oh, I'm sorry, can you go back to the last slide? So at the last point there, we did a follow-up communication, confirmed that the literature was before the legal review in ADCRR, and the chaplain had confirmed that. Okay, next slide. Thank you. Okay, so, and before our next date to follow up, it was confirmed that the literature was already uploaded to the tablets. Ryan called me one day and he said, "Linda, are you ready for this?" It was very funny. And so the senior chaplain had told us that the literature had been uploaded. But even before then, an incarcerated member of NA that's using those tablets inside had reached out to us and said, "Hey, you'll never guess what? I looked in the tablet this morning and there's 5 pieces of NA literature on here. Awesome." He was so excited. And so we told the chaplain that, and he was thrilled to hear that there was that kind of interest. What happened though in that moment is Ryan and I realized we missed a critical step. We had forgot to provide the agreement up front. And so we learned a pivotal message or lesson through this. So we scrambled to create and finalize the agreement with the Arizona Department of Corrections, Reentry and Rehabilitation, and with NAS. Luckily, again, we have a good relationship. So the senior chaplain was able to help us get that done. So the lessons that we learned were to work within your group to each other's strengths. For instance, we had a person that was good at creating documents. We had, a few people really good with communicating and collaborating. And so it's really important to recognize those skills and lean on them. Another lesson, set proper expectations and clear communication about follow-up times. Signed agreement in writing between institution and NAS. It must be the institution's letterhead. And if possible, verify that the literature is on the tablets. Now for us, the incarcerated member that verified for us happens to be a member of our program at the regional level called Sponsorship Behind the Walls. And so we had an advantage on that. And it was just really nice to hear it from both the senior chaplain and our member in NA on the inside. It was just, a beautiful full circle. And the next, and so here is the document that we used. We went back and forth a few times. The chaplain was able to help me with this. It happened within a few days. Luckily, there was no hang-ups on this. So, and let's see, must be, one of the requirements due to copyright and from NAS NA World Service is that it must state that the e-literature will be provided at no cost to the incarcerated. That's very, very important. And so I wanted to, I know that this is our contact information, mine and Ryan. And I think that I'm looking to see if Chaplain Herman is online here. I don't see him. I don't know if he's going to be able to show today. Questions?
Sure, we can open it up for some questions.
All right.
Anybody has any questions for Linda on her process? Our process.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I noticed that her copyright was signed by an executive director, and ours was signed by, I believe, Jane, who is the PR manager. So I guess my question is to maybe the NA folks, who is the individual that moving forward you would recommend is the best contact? Would it be the PR person? Would it be the executive director? It sounds like they have reached out to the executive director on trying to move getting the entire book on the tablet.
So Lieutenant Tracy, what happened with us is we went through Jane at our NA World Service, and then she had the executive director sign it. That was not something that we did. And so that was within our World Service office. So I couldn't speak to what happens there.
Okay.
You know, of course, because I wasn't there, but I think that working with Jane would be the contact.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right.
Anyone else?
I have a question. I heard Paul mention it earlier, and I don't know, Linda, or if anybody else was successful in getting the audio 5th edition of the basic text on the tablets. All right.
No, we haven't. It hasn't happened yet. We need to get the file compressed and then sent to ODRC. But NAS has indicated that the free audio of the 5th edition of the basic text that is available on na.org can be pushed out to the tablets. We just need to get it in the appropriate format.
Okay. So, all right. I haven't heard back from Jane, because I did send an email asking, you know, if it's possible for us to do the same thing. Because we have 9 PDF forms that Sarasota County put on their tablets, and I'm sure if that makes a difference, like the amount of stuff that's been accessible to addicts, I'm not sure. So
I think if there are limitations, they're placed by NAS on the number of,
Right.
but I'm not sure.
Right.
And, you know, in conversation with GTL and with Kelly, it's not that it's infinite, but there was no concern about the size of the files that we were pushing out, and that it was not going to displace any other kind of information that they wanted to have on these standalone free libraries that are on the tablets.
So I did want to mention a few items if you two are done.
I was just going to say thanks, and I'll once Jane says okay, then I'll get with Lieutenant Tracy and take it from there. Okay, thanks, Linda. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention a few items here. We are working currently to see if we can get any data that extracted from the tablets. So far, we haven't been able to in the state of Arizona. with the Department of Corrections. We do have the model that is used of the tablets. So if that's something you're interested in, Willavina, I can get that to you. Remind me, please. And then also too, I know that a topic that was brought up about downloading and stuff, the tablets are used on the intranet system, which is a closed system inside the corrections facility. It's not an internet system, which would be open. So there's a distinct difference on that. And let's see, the Arizona Department of Corrections, what we figured was there was approximately 40,000 incarcerated people that have tablets that have the ability to look at our literature. Recently, just like a week ago, Pinal County Jail down in Tucson area was able to get e-literature on their tablets, which means 3,500 tablets in the county jail. Now, what they did was they did English first, and then a few days later, they went back and got the Spanish. And they chose to do a few different pieces of literature, but that was very mindful of them. So that's another thing to consider, both English and Spanish. And then I know that the Arizona region, what we're working on now is getting our Maricopa County Jail literature on these tablets. And in communication with them, they said it would need to be English and Spanish. So that's our next endeavor. So we're pretty excited. I do know that after we're done with this, we'll be hitting up the federal prisons. And, you know, as the motto goes, ain't nothing stopping us now.
I wanted to interject a little bit here with the process. There's, you know, it sounded like in Sarasota, Florida and Ohio, GTL had been the main tablet provider. What we found in Arizona is it was a little different. For the Arizona Department of Corrections, Reentry and Rehabilitation, the tablet provider was JPay. And so, and as far as the county jails go, I do believe GTL is in Pima County, and also I believe it is GTL here in Maricopa County. So we didn't necessarily run into as many obstacles and roadblocks as, say, Sarasota and even Ohio might have. You know, when we came together and gathered information and resources from them, really, you know, like I forget who was saying, use your champions, the champions on your side, because we had some people that we had already established communication with within the Department of Corrections. And I believe, you know, when we reached out to them, I asked them, is this something that you can get behind? Will you support us in our efforts here? And he said yes. And so as soon as that happened, I mean, I swear the literature was on the tablets. And when I called Linda, I was like, are you ready for this? The literature is on the tablets. And it was a really emotional, and it felt like a really wonderful day. So, you know, the thing in Pima County, you know, they actually had reached out to the volunteers from NA and asked about the literature, if it was possible to do that in Pima County. And I want to give a shout out to them, because it was through the person in Pima County who reached out to our RDA, who had asked me if I had any information on electronic literature. And that's when we kind of just went to that GSR assembly and started gathering our resources together. And then it just happened, like it just clicked. So our communications with Maricopa County haven't shown that there would be any holdups or obstacles. So that's going to be something that we're pursuing also here in the future, is Maricopa County, which, you know, I believe there will be more than 3,500 tablets in the Maricopa County, like there are in Pima. So altogether, Arizona is on a good course for having their incarcerated with tablets and electronic literature. So do we have any other questions? Anybody want to interject anything or have anything else to say? Okay. Well, we did have a scheduled general Q&A at this point, but it sounds like everybody's questions have been answered. Oh, well, Vina.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I always have something to say. First of all, I wanted to acknowledge Arizona's work group that includes H&I and public relations, because I'm just going to be honest with you, here in the Northeast, except for New Jersey, let me not say that, we do not have any work groups that are collaborating with H&I and public relations. And I took a lot of effort to invite a lot of H&I people to this workshop, because I don't think that the understanding is how incredibly important it is to collaborate in this regard. And can you guys please speak to that process of bringing along your H&I and public relations groups to work together, because it is not happening over here. It's not happening in New York. Nowhere in New York is this happening. And I can say that with a certainty right now.
And I'm gonna, for the last 2 weeks, I have been sending the flyer out to not just the different areas that are in Sarasota County, which is crazy to have one county with
3 areas.
3 different areas, but I've been sending that flyer out, but specifically sending it out to the jail volunteers, and there's not one Florida NA member on. And so oh, sorry, this guy. But I think it's, I don't know if anybody has an answer on how to get people excited about this, because this is the new age, isn't it? Like, this is it. This is what's happening. So if anybody's got some tricks up your sleeve to get people to collaborate and get excited and to get these work groups together, I'd be interested in setting it off too.
Well, I'll interject and say, I mean, for Ohio, it was really participating in the NEZF, planning for the Professionals Day conference with the criminal justice. And then, hearing about the possibility and then contacting NAS and NAS sending us to you for, what you had done. But I think that the Criminal Justice Professionals Day was a real turning point for us in that and getting us excited. And I think everyone on this call is going to be the spark in their community, hopefully, for, moving this forward now that they've heard from 3 different perspectives about how it happened and what they can do in their communities.
Well, Vina, you asked about our collaboration with PR and H&I, and so I'm an H&I guy. I haven't been involved with public relations, but my history as a formerly incarcerated member of Narcotics Anonymous I had a desire to see more NA literature within the Department of Corrections. And but when I started, when our RDA and the people from PEMA had reached out, asked if I had any information or experience with e-literature, I was really excited about it. But what I envisioned in my head was like a process that was going to be full of roadblocks and obstacles. And that's just what I had envisioned in my head, and so what I figured I would do is, I know we have Nancy on here. She's our regional PR chair. And I know she has a lot of experience in dealing with police departments and things like that. So I figured that, it would be a good idea if we reached out for help from people that had experience with speaking to professionals in that area. And that's when the idea was brought up at the GSR assembly, of possibly creating a work group between PR and H&I. I figured that PR would have the skills to present to these officials in that area. And we just collaborated on Zoom and got together and started having meetings, and that's where it was like a group conscience of what literature we were going to use and what our approaches were going to be, who was going to be assigned to do county, who was going to be assigned to try to approach the Department of Corrections. And everything just meshed and it worked out really well. So I'm really grateful for Nancy as well. I know she's got her hand up. She wants to comment on something really quick. Or go ahead, Nancy.
Well, in a perfect world, H&I and PR we should be attending each other's meetings, because what we do goes hand in hand. When the first call comes in from any kind of like a treatment center or whomever, whichever organization wants to know more about NA, usually PR is frontline and then refers to H&I and says, this is an appropriate facility for H&I to go into. So one of the things that's been a block for Arizona is that we schedule our meetings too close in time to each other to actually be attending each meeting. But that is the way to start, is for any PR chair of any area or regional chair to commit to also going to H&I and having your H&I chair at your meetings, because together we're so much stronger.
Thank you. I see Scott's got his hand up. Scott.
Yes, thank you first of all for talking about the JPay tablets. I'm assuming that the JPay were less complicated than the GTL. If you could address that. And then also I share the frustration of Wilvina and some other people who state they're having trouble stimulating H&I and PR involvement.
Linda, do you want to answer about the JPay?
Sure. Eric, name Linda. Hi, guys. Thank you for the question, Scott. In Arizona region's experience, our main communication was with our connection at the headquarters of Department of Corrections. And we didn't have to deal with the third-party tablet owner at all, because the contract is between the Correctional Department of Corrections and that third party. So we didn't have to deal with that. That's their contract. And I'm thankful for that, because that would have been a whole different relationship that we didn't even have. So luckily, that was handled for us. Now, as we stated previously, that might be different in different areas or different regions or different zones. I know it said JPay, but if you look it up online here, it's the umbrella Securus, and they're the ones who make that tablet. And so and then actually it's been verified by someone who uses the tablet on the inside. It actually says that on that tablet. So, but again, we didn't have to worry about that, because our main communication, was with our chaplain. And so that's the only thing we had to do. And I know, and then I did want to say about working with PR. What happened was we started to get excited about this possibility, because I think because we all started to become open-minded about it. You know, this last year has been really hard for everybody on different levels, but it forced us to be a bit more open-minded in ways that normally we wouldn't have been. And so this was an opportunity. We started to become open-minded. It created energy, and pretty soon we were all excited about it. And that's what happened for us. And it was really different, and we were successful as a result.
Thank you.
So Nancy brought up a good point in the chat, in that, you know, when we approached our senior chaplain here and we let him know that this was taking place in Sarasota and it was also taking place in Ohio, that carried a lot of weight. You know what I mean? That this was taking place in other parts of the country. And so, you know, I let him know that, and he had actually requested documentation or some sort of proof that this had already been taking place in other places throughout the country. And so we had to obtain permission from Ohio to access their letter and share that, you know what I mean? And once we did that, we turned that letter in with our PDF versions to the senior chaplain, who then turned it over to the legal department at either the department. They had to review the documents before they put them onto their tablets. And then they just basically used the PDF versions that we turned over to them, and they just uploaded those right onto the tablets, you know. And so we went off of the same platform as Ohio did. We decided to keep it simple and use the pieces of literature that had already had success, instead of reinventing the wheel. So
Can I say something real quick about GTL, to Scott's question? Just that the process here is for Kelly at ODRC. She learned through this process that she could upload to a central hub information that she wanted pushed out by GTL. And then GTL would take care of it from there. So apparently it's a very simple process that through this collaboration with NA she learned about. And I was surprised at that. And the letter, anyone can use that letter. We obtained permission from Kelly and John to be able to share it. So, you know, when you get the resource packet, feel free to share that letter with anyone in your area or region who wants to see it.
all right, next I'm going to call on Joseph K.
Hey, Joseph, Northern Kentucky, H&I. I just general question about the resource packet. That's going to have basically all the information that we've talked about here.
I believe it should. Am I correct, Steve?
Yeah, we'll put something together in a letter and format and resources and video links or audio links also. Just email that NA eLit 2021@gmail.com and you'll be on there and we'll send you everything.
Already did. Thank you.
Thank you.
Simon.
Yeah, hi. The observation about expressing, you know, frustration and disappointment about these meetings we're singing to the choir here. You know, the people who need to hear this are the people who aren't here. And I've been doing this a long time, and as a lot of you have too. And there are a few observations that I'd like to contribute. One, I thought Amy from Recovery Ohio pointed out really usefully, is find a champion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the same way that we make a friend within external professional organizations, we should be doing the same within our subcommittees, because it's a people thing. It's how it works. That's the first thing. The second thing, it's us. We're the people who are doing it. If other people don't come, that's kind of on them, really. Different people recover at different paces, and if they don't come, I'm not going to spend my time being disappointed. I'm just going to get the work done. And I think the most effective way of getting people involved is to show them how good this shit is, because the reality is addicts especially, hate missing shit. If there's good shit going on, they want to be a part of it. And there's no doubt that doing stuff like that really helps. You know, I find, for example, you know, I don't want to blow smoke up his ass. I find Paul's engagement with this really encouraging and inspiring, and he's the reason I came tonight, because I'm inspired by people who do things really well. You know, if you want to become a better tennis player, you play with tennis players who are better than you, right? That's what you do. That's how you improve your game. And I'd like to think that my sponsees, I don't sponsor people who don't do service. Why would I? Certainly they may not start like that, but they're certainly going to be doing it by the time they're on the steps. So for me, this is about making personal connections with people and you know, sponsoring people into service, and people who don't come, you know, it's ultimately their loss. This is something that is unimaginable. You know, 5 years ago, the idea of doing this was just unimaginable, and we're doing it, man. This is absolutely going on right now, and the idea that there's any kind of, for me anyway, there's any kind of resistance from NAWS about putting our literature onto inmate tablets in terms of book length pieces, I don't see that as an issue at all. You know, the people I know there are as keen as we are to put it on. Just like Amy said, you know, there are legal hurdles that need to be jumped over, things need to be approved, steps need to be taken, but I don't see any doubt. You know, I have no doubt in my mind that that will happen. My personal concern is getting this happening over here, because there's a lot of people in jail here who need this.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad I came. You know, I'm really glad I came. Every time I get amongst people like you, I feel like a better person. And I feel like there's more to be done, and I feel like I have more energy to do it. So thank you.
Thank you, Simon. All right, Joe.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Joe. I'm an addict from Canton, Ohio. Greetings, everybody. First, I want to thank the presenters, the organizers of this event, and I want to give a special thank you to Lieutenant Tracy and to Amy from Recovery Ohio for spending a few hours of your holiday weekend with us. There aren't a lot of people in the greater community that give a rat's foot enough about addicts seeking recovery to do that. So many thanks to both of you. My primary question for the organizers is, what's the main obstacle you've seen from NAS about getting the text and the Just for Today on the tablets? Is it money? Is it they want paid for these book length pieces?
I'll go ahead and speak to that. So, Joe, if that's something that you're interested in doing in your region or area, that's something that can be done, you know, discussed, and, you know, send an idea request. But we haven't endeavored it here yet from Arizona, so you know, more will be revealed on that. Go ahead, Paul.
I just want to say there's never been any indication that NAS is asking for payment for any of this. I think it's more copyright issues than anything. Yeah, no request for payment of any sort.
No.
Just happy that they've just been happy to help as much as they can.
We've offered because the Sarasota County Jail really does want those texts on their tablets, and it isn't a money thing. It is copyright stuff that goes on. There's I was just looking at the chat, and there was a comment on John F, and we said we weren't going to address this, but just read that, and I just want to support that, because if we could unite and maybe get involved with CAR and to get the basic text released and the Just for Today released, you know, because it's all new territory for everybody, including NAS. And so if we could really put the need out there, there may be a better response to it. So, yeah.
So a follow-up question, and maybe this is a loophole. You said that they're willing to entertain the idea of releasing the audio version of the 5th edition. And as we know, in their mumbo jumbo world, once a new edition of the text is approved, the previous editions are disapproved, or they're no longer considered approved literature. So since the 5th edition is no longer considered approved literature, would they be willing to put that rather than the 6th edition? I mean, why are they willing to put the audio version but not the print version? I guess I'm looking for
some of this stuff we just don't have the answers to right now. But we'll call on the next question, next hand. Greg?
Hello, everybody. Sorry I can't get my video to work. Hey, Simon. Love you, brother. I truly believe that the World Board can approve this, and that to show the power behind it, it may take another year, but I think if every region puts in a request that the basic text, that it goes on the floor as a request from each region, I think you'll find out that it will be approved. Because NAS, anything that has to do with finances, normally they're hesitant, particularly at this time, when money is an issue and half the office is on furlough, the board can make that decision at the conference. And your power is on the conference floor, always. You know, and I'm sure that all the other regions will join in when that first motion hit. But then what happens if you send in your motions or requests prior to the conference, the conference manager will see all those requests. They'll probably narrow it down to one big request. But the power is that every region submit a request that the 6th edition basic text be allowed to be downloaded to incarcerated inmates' tablets. And you'll find out you may get some better results. I spoke to a few people at NAS and I spoke to a few board members that I won't mention their names or anything, but I think that's where your power is.
But Greg, wouldn't it be more powerful going forward to say the current version of the basic text, the approved version, and then that way 10 years down the road, we're not having to go back with a second motion?
I don't think you're going to worry about a second motion. The issue is the basic text. And the way world works, like Joe says, they like to get rid of the last edition when they upgrade to a new edition. So whatever has been approved to allow the fellowship how to use it or when to use it, that approval will continue with each edition.
Thank you. Steve?
And the audio edition, the audio version has only been done for the 5th edition. It's not been done for the 6th edition yet. That's why they've offered the 5th edition. It's not for any reason other than the 6th edition is not yet on an audio file.
Right.
Thank you for that. Both of you, thank you. Steve?
Yeah, just to let everybody know, I'll put it in the chat, but any incarcerated person or can write NAS and they will send them some literature for free. So I'll put that in the chat, and that's something any incarcerated person can do. But I'll also put in the Fellowship Services team email address, and you can email them and you can start a conversation with getting literature into inmates also. But yeah, it's a good point that Greg brought up, that right now half the staff is furloughed, or more than half, and it's a skeleton crew. So just be patient with everything right now. All right, thanks.
All right. Well, guys, I don't see any more hands up. I just want, Sherry, go ahead.
The only other thing I'd like to point out is the 6th edition is the current fellowship approved literature. It falls under the FIPT. It makes our lives a lot easier if we go with the 5th edition that does not fall under the FIPT, which is a legal document that lawyers would have to change and would be probably a tremendous cost, and is under revision at this time too. So that's also a big difference between using the 5th edition and the 6th edition basic text. Thanks.
Jeff.
Yeah, and I just want to point out that, you know, the 5th and the 6th editions, the first 10 chapters are identical. There are absolutely no changes to. The only thing that's different is the personal stories. The 6th edition has more and more international stories, and there's a preface to the 6th edition that obviously is not in the 5th edition. So,
thank you. All right. Well, I personally want to thank everybody for attending today. It's because of people like you who have a passion for hospitals and institutions, and for our members on the inside who are incarcerated, that I'm able to be here today and have a changed life. And I just want to express that to you. I appreciate you and I love you all. And I wish you success in all your endeavors as we move forward, and hopefully we can really continue to do some wonderful things. With that being said, we're approaching 2 o'clock Arizona time. And if anybody doesn't have anything else, we can go ahead and close it up here, and we'll just take a moment of silence, and we'll follow it with the serenity prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, wisdom to know the difference.
Thank you all and have a pleasant day.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Everybody.
Thanks,
Guys.
everyone.
We
Thank
put our
you.
email
See
in the
you guys.
chat.
Happy
Memorial Weekend.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you, Lieutenant Tracy.
Thanks,
Yes, thank
Jody.
you, Amy,
Thanks,
Lieutenant
guys.
Tracy.
Thank you.